Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Wendy Sellers here, the HR Lady. We are here in episode 4 of 5 on the series talking about preparing to fill a job opening with or without a recruiter. And we are here with Donna Beckett as our guest, who is a recruiting expert. Welcome back.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, thank you. This has been amazing. I could talk about this stuff all day. I'm glad I don't have to do the recruiting, but I could definitely talk about the advice. You know, if we prepare in advance and we take the time to get it right, we're going to save money.
Absolutely.
We're going to save time. We're going to save aggravation. We're going to save money because, is it expensive to post a job ad these days?
Yes, it is.
It's practically free on Indeed.
Yeah, I do.
And it is not. Go ahead, JC.
How much does it cost?
It depends. I mean, it depends. Literally, Indeed is genius on their end, and we hate them for it, but we can't live our lives without it, especially as a small business. They know if there's a lot of candidates for this type of role or if there's not. And so if there's a lot of candidates, it's an entry-level position that's pretty common, like a retail clerk or something like that. They make it cheaper. The job ad's cheaper. So it could be $20 a day. Rarely is it $20 a day on any role, even that. Go ahead, JC.
Yeah, but that's still a lot safer than posting the job on Craigslist like we did back in the day, right?
You know what? I'm sure there are still companies that use Craigslist. I don't know of any of them, but I'm sure there is. But yeah, I mean, there are so many options to, post job ads, but they are expensive. And if you forget, I was supposed to turn that off, and then all of a sudden you have $1,000 on your credit card because it's still sitting on there. You can't get that back.
No, you cannot.
So it's not just about the job ad itself. It's the cost of the recruiter. And if you have an internal recruiter, that means you have to either have a full-time internal recruiter or part-time, or if you're using your management team or a recruiting team, for example, that are, multitasking, you got to take them off of something else.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, it's going to cost you. All right. Let's get to interviewing techniques. What advice do you, Donna, have for interview techniques, to be successable?
I think a lot of companies find success in behavioral interview questions. So when I say that, I mean, tell me about a time when you had to solve a problem at work or, resolve conflict with an employee.
Mm-hmm.
You could also have a specific example for them and have them walk you through what they would do so you can assess, how does this person, what are their how do they go about doing this?
Yeah, right. I like that. I like that a lot. I know everybody is sick of hearing me talk about AI, but you can ask AI to help you come up with questions, whether they're technical interview questions or behavioral. You got to get the job description right first. And then out of that, you just ask ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using. I just did this on our break here and said, hey, ChatGPT, provide examples of behavioral questions for job interviews. And it came up with things, bunch of topics from problem solving to teamwork, time management, conflict resolution, communication, leadership, if it's required in that role. For example, problem solving. Tell me about a time when you identified a major problem in your workplace or in your role, and how did you address it and what was the outcome? That's a pretty good one.
It is a good one.
And then you have to listen. I've been in interviews where I'm just there QCing somebody's interview. I'm like, you didn't let the candidate talk at all. You talked the entire time. You've ever seen that?
I have.
And you're just like, yeah, that was a great candidate. You just talked to yourself for an hour. So behavioral interview questions are important. Very
Yes.
important. But please, 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 folks, QC those behavioral interview questions. Make sure, I cannot stress this enough, make sure that you are training everybody that is involved in the interviewing process on what the laws are, what you can and cannot ask, and then getting down to my specific company culture, what we want to ask. Because again, your receptionist might be booking the interviews for you and didn't even realize that she couldn't say to the pregnant woman that walked in, "Oh, I see that you're pregnant. When are you due?" I mean, can you have that conversation? You can. Should you? No. It's hard though, right?
It's really hard when you're trying to connect.
We're trying to connect to people. We're trying to get them to fall in love with our company. We're trying to connect with them as a recruiter or when we're acting as a recruiter. So we have these human conversations, and then whoopsie, we may have accidentally thrown into discrimination. Folks, if that ever happens to you, just apologize and say, "I'm sorry, that was not supposed to be part of this interview process, and we're not using that as the scorecard. So let's eliminate that conversation." Just be honest and say, "I screwed up," right?
Yeah. Honesty. Absolutely.
Go ahead, JC.
Can you have that discussion like in the hallway before you get into the room, like establishing that this is a human moment and not the interview, and then ask them all about their medical background and stuff? Could you do that, or no, not really?
No.
Okay.
Do companies? Yeah. Should they not? Absolutely not, because you can't get sued. And not only that is, listen, if you're not telling the person why you didn't choose them, and there happened to be a hallway conversation that talked about somebody's pregnancy or their accent or, something like that, then they may just assume, because they have no reason, that you didn't identify a reason why you declined them. They may assumed that you declined them because they have a pregnancy coming up, and it was pretty obvious. So, we're human. We screw up. We make mistakes. Admit it. But please train your people that are going to be involved in the interviewing process. All right. So let's shift gears to making the offer. Do candidates have the power to negotiate?
They absolutely do. They absolutely do.
What tips do you have for our listeners who want to seal the deal?
Well, I think it's important to have done your research beforehand about this individual. I hope you found out what motivated them to come to you in the first place, and what's going to motivate them to join you. Right. It could be money, but it also could be other things. It could be the location.
Yeah.
It could be they have family in where you're at and they want to move there.
Right.
So, you can find out a lot about those things in an interview too.
Right. Which is why the behavioral questions that we talked about matter. And, the idle chit chat too, but making sure that idle chit chat is not biased or discriminatory. JC, you have some stats about negotiating?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Wendy. Around 85% of employers are willing to negotiate salary and benefits to secure those top candidates. That reflects the strong bargaining position that candidates currently hold in today's competitive job market.
Going back to what Donna said about finding out why are they interviewing with you? What motivates them? Your entire team who is in the interviewing process, whether it's 2 people or 7 people, please, I hope it's not 7 people. And if it is 7 people, please make them all be in one meeting at the same time, like one mass interview meeting, which could be incredibly stressful, by the way, for the employee. Could you imagine the candidate walking into a meeting and there's 7 people there? Like, prepare them in advance. Let them know, hey, this is a committee that's making the decision. I know it's confusing and probably stressful, but feel free to be yourself here. Hey, everybody, thanks for listening to episode 4 of our 5-part series on preparing to fill a job opening with or without a recruiter. In our next episode, we're going to cover post-hire best practices. As a reminder, Aurora Training Advantage has webinars on all types of topics, including Communication 101. And on December 19th, there is a training called Collaborating with Clarity. Simply go to auroratrainingadvantage.com/webinars to discover more webinar options. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.